We're coming off one of the most unbelievable wins this franchise has had in years, and honestly, when you really sit back and think about what the 49ers just did, it almost feels surreal. This team walked into one of the toughest environments in the league, against the defending Super Bowl champions, short-handed, banged up, and written off by almost everyone, and somehow they walked out with their season still alive. If you're watching this right now and you're still buzzing from that Eagles game, go ahead and hit the like button for me, because moments like that are exactly why we love playoff football, and it also helps us get closer to that goal of 1,000 subscribers, which means everything for this channel. What makes this win so special isn't just the score, it's everything behind it. The 49ers didn't have the roster advantage. They didn't have the health advantage. They didn't have the situational advantage. What they did have was belief, preparation, and coaching that was flat-out elite. Kyle Shanahan and Robert Saleh put together a masterclass, especially when you consider how patched together this roster is right now. This is a team that has been missing stars all year, yet every week it feels like someone new steps up and fills the gap. That's not luck, that's culture, and that's coaching. And then there's Brock Purdy. I know people will look at the 2 interceptions and try to poke holes, but if you actually watched that game, you saw something way more important. You saw a quarterback who never flinched. You saw a quarterback who got punched in the mouth and still stood tall when it mattered most. In the guts of that game, on that final drive, in one of the loudest and most hostile environments you can play in, Purdy delivered. He made plays with his arm, with his legs, and with his composure. That's what franchise quarterbacks do. So let me ask you this right now. Do you believe Brock Purdy proved something special in that Eagles game? Yes or no? I really want to know where you stand on that. This one also said a lot about who the 49ers are mentally. This season has been nothing but adversity. Losing stars, shuffling lineups, and still finding ways to win. You don't see that in the box score, and you don't see it in the analytics, but you feel it when you watch this team play. That defense, with backups and rookies all over the field, gave up just 19 points to one of the most loaded offenses in football. That's not supposed to happen, but it did because this group refuses to fold. Now there's already a debate happening everywhere you look. Was that the best win of Kyle Shanahan's career? You can make a strong case for it. Going on the road, beating the defending champs, with everything stacked against you, that's special. But at the same time, there are other legendary moments in this era too, like the comeback in the NFC Championship, the frozen Lambeau win against Aaron Rodgers, and that gritty divisional round victory a couple years ago. So I want you to tell me this in the comments. Which one do you think was bigger, this Eagles win or that 2021 Packers game in the snow? The reason this all matters is because that victory didn't just keep the season alive, it set up one of the best rivalries in football, the biggest stage. Niners versus Seahawks, again, for a trip to the NFC Championship. Everything that happened against Philadelphia now becomes the foundation for what comes next, and trust me, what comes next is going to be even more intense. So make sure you're subscribed and have notifications turned on, because this playoff run is far from over, and we're going to be breaking down every step of it together as we head into this massive showdown in Seattle. Now let's talk about how the 49ers actually pulled off that win, because when you strip away the emotion and really look at what happened on the field, it becomes even more impressive. This wasn't some fluky miracle, this was a team that made the right plays when it had to, even when things weren't going perfectly. Brock Purdy didn't have a clean game, but he had a winning game. 2 interceptions against a defense like Philadelphia's could have easily buried this team, but instead he flushed them, stayed aggressive, and delivered when the season was on the line. That's the difference between a quarterback who just survives and one who can actually carry you when it matters. He finished with over 260 yards and 2 touchdowns, and more importantly, he led the drive that won the game. That's what you pay a franchise quarterback to do, especially on the road in the playoffs. So let me throw this at you right now. Do you trust Brock Purdy in these moments? Yes or no? Because games like this are exactly how reputations are built in this league. Christian McCaffrey is another perfect example of why this team is so hard to beat. The Eagles shut down the run, and they did a really good job of it. 15 carries for under 50 yards is not what you expect from CMC, but instead of disappearing, he found another way to take over. 6 catches, over 60 receiving yards, and to touchdowns, that's what elite players do. Even when plan A gets taken away, they find a plan B, and that flexibility is exactly what Kyle Shanahan builds into this offense. And then there was that trick play, the one that had every Eagles defender completely fooled. Jawan Jennings throwing a touchdown pass in a playoff game is the kind of thing that sticks with you forever. It wasn't just a fun moment, it was a statement. It said that this coaching staff trusts its players, and it also showed that Shanahan is still willing to reach deep into the bag when the season is on the line. But honestly, the biggest reason the Niners won that game might have been the defense. This was not a full-strength unit. This was a group of backups, rookies, and late-season pickups, and yet they held one of the most talented offenses in football to just 19 points. Saquon Barkley got his yards, but the Eagles never really took control. Robert Saleh called an incredible game, mixing in pressure, disguising looks, and forcing Philly to play uncomfortable football all night. That's why this win feels so different. It wasn't about dominating in one area, it was about surviving everywhere. Offense, defense, special teams, and coaching all made just enough plays to push the Niners over the line. And now that you've seen what this team can do, when everything is stacked against them, you have to ask yourself something. Do you think this defense deserves more credit for this win than the offense? Let me know in the comments, because I think that conversation is a lot closer than people realize. What makes this even crazier is that all of this happened without several of the biggest names on the roster. And that's what leads us straight into what comes next, because as amazing as beating the Eagles was, the matchup waiting on the other side might be even tougher. Seattle is built in a way that directly attacks the 49ers' weaknesses, and the way these teams have gone at each other all season sets up a completely different kind of battle in the divisional round. Now we turn the page to Seattle, and this is where things get really uncomfortable, because this is not just another playoff opponent. This is a divisional rival that knows the 49ers inside and out, and a team that has already shown it can make life miserable for this offense. This is the third time these teams are meeting this season, and if you've watched the first two, you already know how wildly different they were. San Francisco won the opener, Seattle took the second one, and both games told us something important about what this matchup really is. In Week 18, the Seahawks didn't just beat the 49ers, they bullied them. The Niners couldn't run the ball, Brock Purdy was under pressure all game, and the offense never got into any kind of rhythm. They barely cracked 170 total yards, and that is almost impossible to do in today's NFL if everything is clicking. Seattle controlled the trenches, controlled the clock, and kept San Francisco stuck on the sideline. That's the blueprint they're going to try to follow again, and that's